Howdy folks, TJ here. Do you know at one time TJ me was an editor, creator of a magazine? You probably didn't know that. Well, it's not really. Well, let's cut to the chase. Was it a real magazine? No. Think of club newsletter, club magazine, quality, all done by one person kind of thing. Although in clubs you normally had participation of multiple people writing articles and stuff. I think I had one person as a guest writer, but it's been so long I don't remember. Now, what was this magazine called? And I'll show it to you. I've got my original first and second copies. I made a total of 6. All I charged was for 6. I was never going to probably go past 6, and if I did, then I would open up another year of subscription. It was subscription-based, and then you can get another 6 issues. I never wanted for somebody to overpay and say they never got all issues. So I made a total of 6. It was an every other month magazine, and I named it At Society Magazine. This dates back to 1997, when my whole Atari world was crumbling around me. A little past that, actually. But I was still in love with the world of Atari. And I still was enjoying computers that were kind of going by the wayside. Like the Next. You know what a Next is? Not the Spectrum Next that I have back here, but a Next computer made by Steve Jobs. And that's what mostly this magazine was about. The NeXTcube, the NeXTstation. And as time progressed, I also added some other stories and information about other type of computers. So I named it At Society. Now, if you know TJ, the word society has been used for a long time, ever since I got my first website back in the 90s or whatever it was. Society has been in my name. So, for example, for a short time, well, no, actually not a short time, from 2006 to 2012, I had my own company, a DBA, as Mac Society, because I was installing and selling Apple computers, mostly iMacs, as point-of-sale computers at retail stores. That was my specialty. And so I use the word society all over the place. Atari Society, Amiga Society, you name it, there's a society in there. Sinclair Society, right? I just love that word society. So I've continued using it throughout my generations of computers. And for a while, I made a magazine. I'll call it a magazine because I did call it a magazine, but it was more of newsletter-esque quality. And we're going to take a look at my first issue. Now, I only have 2 issues available. If you happen to have been a subscriber or happen to have issues 3, 4, 5, and 6, because I think I already made a total of 6 of them, let me know because I'd like to chat. Maybe it's some way we can have you scan them and email me pictures of them, because it would be great for me to have them for my own collection, because for whatever reason, 20 some odd years ago when I moved to this current house, I moved away from all the baggage of having too many computers in the house because it was taking up too much space. NeXTcube, goodbye. NeXTstation, goodbye. Do I kick myself for selling them now? Yes and no. We'll get into that in a bit. But anyway, I've got issues 1 and 2. If you happen to have 3, 4, 5, and 6, please let me know in the notes down below. But let's chat about first issue, and then maybe if my first one goes well, in terms of enough people viewed this video and say, hey, this is kind of cool, I'll chat about my sunspot issue. What sunspot issue? Well, the damn paper is red, and it gives you sunspots when you're reading it. So I named it the sunspot issue. You'll live and learn when you make your own magazine. So anyway, it was an 8.5 by 11 paper, but it was multi-pages, so when you opened it, there was either a middle page or 2, and sometimes you'll see in the next issue a little addition that I made that I threw in there. But this one was basically a 11 by 17 spread here's the middle of it, and the top cover and back cover. And then inside, I had two other pieces of paper that made up other pages of the magazine. So when you thumb through it, it ended up being what page? One was the front cover, a premiere issue. Then 2 and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6. And then this middle section, which was a little thing that you could take out and read independently. So let me put this one aside. We'll look at the magazine as a total. And then I don't even remember what the hell I wrote. But you can see if you were a Next user, again, most of my viewers are probably specky Next people. This is the NeXTcube NeXTstation, the world of old when Apple had the grips of the world and Next came in and Steve Jobs came in. You can see I have a doc. So I used a table of contents. I thought my little design was kind of nifty. Looking at it, it basically had the Next dock where you clicked on things, a precursor to the Apple dock, and it had a little, pictures of what my dock on my NeXTcube kind of looked like at the time, and had what the names of the internal stories would be. Premiere issue posted very vibrantly down at the bottom. This was just a black and white magazine. At Society, email address tj@oro.net. Back then, my local internet provider was Oronet, and that was my email. And I did put the word newsletter. So at Society Magazine newsletter. So I kind of covered all the bases. It was a magazine, but it was kind of a newsletter. And I had a website. So if you actually go to it in the, what's it called? The Dream Machine, the Wayback Machine, you could probably see my website dating back then. I had it www.oro.net/TJ. I'll have to go to the Wayback Machine and see what it shows. July, August 97, a newsletter dedicated to the Next platform, Volume 1, Number 1. I don't know if this is coming in clearly, but you'll get the gist of it. And it looks like my cover story on the front was about run Macintosh programs on your PC, Executor 2, which was a cool program. ARDI had this program called Executor 2. So I did a whole big story on that. Heck, I even had my home address on here, which is kind of funny. I don't know if I want that out there, but it's an old address, like 20 some odd years ago. So at Society Magazine newsletter, I even have my phone number on here. How funny. A brief history about the Next Computer, Inc. Was one story. Fiend 1.4.1 is ready to gobble up some desktop applications. So the little Fiend Docky was kind of a little Fiend looking dude. So that was actually kind of cool. SendMail 8.8.5, a better mailer. I actually had my NeXTcube set up to do emails, which was cool. The editor's notes, Gatekeeper 2.1, get to the point, because you needed to point to basically connect PPP to the internet. PPP. Gatekeeper 2.1, okay, surfing the web with OmniWeb 2.5. So on the Next, OmniWeb was a kick-ass web browser, and I was browsing the web back in the 90s when the web was really just fresh and vibrant. After all, what was the web created on? They say the NeXTcube was one of the first computers on the web, or was very prominent in the design and world of the web back then, so that's kind of cool. Grazing newsletters with Newsgrazer. I was all over those news groups, getting emails with Popover 1.5, and if you're a NeXTcuber user, NeXTstation user, these names would make sense to you. And then the Recycler, Come Up for Air, was my thing. So that was, again, the premiere issue front of the magazine. Kind of fun, cool. Then you opened it up, and you had pages 2 and 3. So let's see what was on page 2. The editor's notes. I also drew a cartoon. And his name was Amos Appleton. So you'll see little Amos. He looked like an Amish man. And if you know me, many of my old email addresses were Amishman at. I was Amish. I was on the internet, right? How cool. The pulpit of Amos, I called it. And I kind of, had a little religion in there because he was Amish. So I drew a little cartoon. He's kind of cute. And then I had my editorial by Thomas T.J. Ferreira. Let me read just the beginning of it. This may be boring you already, but if you're in the old Next computers, this may not be. And this is part of history, a small little trinket of it. Well after Next was kind of gone, right? Welcome one and all to the premiere issue of At Society Magazine newsletter, a newsletter dedicated to the Next computer platform. What you hold in your hands is a newsletter that we hope will keep the Next platform, this means hardware and software, growing into the year 2000. And then I had a picture of myself and a story, which is a whole big-ass story. And believe it or not, I created this whole magazine newsletter on a NeXTcube and a NeXTstation, printing out to a color Next printer, which did 11 by 17 print. Did it do 11 by 17 print? I believe it was. It was an 11 by 17 printer. If I remember right, that's how I created this. Or I created a whole bunch of 8.5 by 11s, did some cutting and pasting, and created this 11 by 17 spread. It's been so long I don't remember, but I did it all on a NeXTcube and NeXTstation, connected up to my laser Next printer, all stuff I no longer own. But anyway, so the pulpit of Amos. What did I say here? Subject, is Bill Gates the devil? That's what I typed in here. And it said, here's a little bit of information that should cause some concern over Microsoft's market power. We'll just leave it there. That's what it was. Maybe I'll scan these at some point and make them available someplace if enough people are interested. If it's, this may be boring for some, but this was a part of my little history. Editor's Choice Program, Theme 1.1. So I had Editor's Choice. So this whole page 2 is all about me, the editor, and pretty much I did everything, all 6 pages plus the middle page thing, which was 2 more pages. So it was a total of 8 pages of stuff. So let's go now to page 3. So you'll see a Next is prominently. Hopefully this is all coming in semi-clear enough. You're not going to be able to read the text. That's not what this video is about. This is just me covering this magazine that you may not have a clue was ever out there. A brief history about Next Computer Inc. So I have a whole thing. Next Computer Inc. was formed in September 95 by Stephen P. Jobs, co-founder of Apple Inc. So I have a whole story here about the NeXTcube. And then there's a timeline down at the bottom that shows you the timeline that I showed was it. And it showed from 85 to 85 to 89, and then 92, and then 93, and then the little Next is falling off of the timeline. And then 93 to 96, and then 97, because Apple was acquiring Next at the time. So I had the whole timeline on here. And then I said 97, At Society is born by Amos Appleton. So Amos Appleton, again, is that little Amish dude that was in there. So this was written by him, which was me. So that was page 3. Page 4. And again, I'm just showing you this quick. You're not going to be able to view it, but that's not, again, what this is for. Your Next computer, a modern, a modem, and a Jolt Cola. Okay, I got it. So every nerd loved Jolt Cola back in the day. So if you didn't have some little thing with Jolt Cola, so I had Jolt Cola in there and a whole page about my world of Next, a modem, and a Jolt Cola, and OmniWeb version 2.5. And I talked about that. And then I have some really small side print. Dock icons for 4 of the popular internet applications: Gatekeeper, OmniWeb, Newsgrazer, and Popover. So that was page 4. How fun is that? Okay, and now on to page 5. And here's page 5. Hopefully, again, I'll hold it at a few different angles that it somewhat comes in legibly, enough for you to kind of see the gist of it. What do I talk about? The 3 CD set is full of useful NeXTSTEP software. So I'm covering, it looks like there's a CD-ROM that I had at the time that had a whole bunch of stuff. In a nutshell, OmniWeb 2 is an excellent www browser for the NeXTSTEP. So I talk about Next on the net. So that's what this whole thing was for. Next on the net. I was talking about the next. So I'm talking about using OmniWeb, a screenshot of Newsgrazer, reading the news groups, and Newsgrazer stuff. So you can see that I was hot and heavy on the internet with my Next at the time. And then I'll show you page 6 first, and then I'll look at it because I don't remember, again, any of this. This is a long time ago. Next on the net, I continued Next on the net, and it looks like there was continued story, pop over 1.5, gatekeeper, get to the point, and coming up for air, which is basically the end of the story. What did I say in coming up for air? I'm probably talking about issue number 2. We thank you for reading our premiere issue of At Society Magazine newsletter, and I hope it was a good read for you. Make sure to read the special insert, that's what I call it, special insert, that was mailed with the newsletter. This special insert has the compatibility issues about the Executor 2 Mac emulator, and on the backside of the insert is our news in brief. So with magazines, the problem of staying up to date was kind of difficult because this took me a long time to create, even though it was only 6 pages. So I would, at the last minute, make an insert of most recent news, make that page and stick it in here and send it with the magazine so you had somewhat new information. So that's what the coming up for air. It looks like I talked about issue 2 for September-October time frame. We will bring you the following: an in-depth article on PasteUp 2.6, which was a desktop publishing program. Information about the Nebula Quad Fat CD-ROM. The editor's notes, more Amos Appleton pulpit news. An article about the Triumph of the Nerds video set from PBS, which is an excellent video, by the way. And a much more about the next information we can scrummage up for your reading pleasure. Now, go outside and get some air. That's what my whole MO was. And then here is the insert. No, that's not the insert. Insert is here. So here is the news in brief that brought you a little bit more timely data. And then the back was, I think, At Society Magazine Executor 2 compatibility list. So I was nice enough to kind of show all of the compatibility issues that you may have with Executor 2. And then on the other page, it looks like Eric Tremblay, author of the Nebula QuadFat CD-ROM, has announced the distribution of the products through his webpage. I have a webpage where you could order it. Anderson Financial Systems is working on version 3.0 of their excellent DTP software, PasteUp. So they were still, people were kind of like the Atari. You continued making stuff for a little while after the demise of the hardware in hopes the software would continue, and then eventually we know where that goes. NeXTSTEP OpenSTEP Black Hole Incorporated is a resource for all your high-end NeXTSTEP and OpenSTEP needs. Rob Blesson. And if you know this, the Next computer, Rob is a household name because he still today, I believe, is continuing selling used anything Next, which is amazing, right? So I had his information in here. These days, many companies are scrambling to locate NeXTSTEP and OpenSTEP savvy professionals. Technical Scouts of Austin, Texas is an ideal choice. So you could reach out to them and get some help. So I had a bit about them. Many books have been published about Steve Jobs. And here's Steve Jobs, The Reward is the Journey. I have a little story about this book. And then Triumph of the Nerds, information about it. So that was it. So my little magazine, At Society Magazine, was something that I created a long, long time ago. And I'm so thankful to have issue 1 and 2. I chucked everything, I think, in the move 20 some odd years ago. So I have nothing more for it. I have no digital, electronic files, none of that. But needless to say, if you happen to have issues 3, 4, 5, and 6, or any of that, message me below. We'll figure out how to chat. It'd be great to kind of get those back out there. And at some point, if I can scan these and make them available for folks to be able to view and read, I'll do that. But for now, that's it. I created a magazine newsletter about the Next computer. And then if enough people view this, here's the sunspot issue. And we'll cover this in more in depth later. But it looks like I stuck with the same routine. But it was in red, and you got sunspots. And I had page 3, 4, 5, and 6, and another insert. And on the insert, news and brief, look at all those pictures of some prominent figures. There's Jean-Louis Gassi. There's Steve Jobs. There's the guy from Oracle, Larry Ellison. And then that other short-time CEO of Apple that basically hired Steve Jobs to come back, and he was then quickly gone after that. So we'll probably do another video on this if there's enough interest. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. So now you know I was the editor, big-time editor of a magazine back in the mid, 97 to be specific. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.